The hammer struck metal so hard, the entire forge trembled. Ember Hale didn't notice the sweat dripping into her eyes, nor the blistering heat pressing against her skin. All she saw was the glow of the Iron Ann, angry, molten red, the storm she'd been carrying inside her for a year and a half. She swung again, harder, faster, as if she could beat the grief out of the world. Outside, a dust storm snarled across the dry streets of Ridgetop Valley, throwing grit against the forge windows like claws. The wind howled, shutters banged, and somewhere a horse shrieked in panic. Ember didn't stop. She couldn't. The noise kept the memories quiet. But then, a crash, wood splitting, hooves pounding. The forge door burst open so violently that sparks scattered across the floor. A massive chestnut stallion reared in the doorway, wild-eyed and frothing, dragging a rope and a man who desperately tried to keep his footing. "Easy, easy, damn it," he barked, boots sliding across the floor as the horse yanked him forward again. The scene should have been chaotic. It was, but Ember saw something else, a man refusing to let go, even as the animal threatened to crush him. With one fluid movement, Ember dropped the hammer, seized a smoldering chain, and stepped straight into the stallion's path. The man's eyes widened. "Lady, don't." Too late. The horse charged. Ember braced, swung the chain, and wrapped it around the post so fast it snapped like a trap closing. The stallion jerked sideways, hit the beam, and stopped cold panting. Trembling, but no longer dangerous. Only then did Ember turn to the stranger. He was tall, coated in dust, with the kind of weary strength a man earns from too many years alone. His shirt was torn where the horse had nearly dragged him across the street. His breathing was ragged, but his gaze, gray sharp, was steady. "You all right?" Ember asked, wiping soot from her cheek. The man didn't answer at first. He studied her like someone seeing something impossible. "I've been trying to get that horse calmed for days," he finally said, voice low. "But you..." He shook his head, almost disbelieving. "You walked straight at him." Ember shrugged, grabbing a water pail for the stallion. "Didn't have much of a choice. You were about to get trampled." The stranger let out a breath that sounded half like a laugh, half exhaustion. "Name's Ridge Calderon," he said. "I run the farm out past the canyon." Then, softer, almost hesitant. "And you're Ember Hale, the widow who runs the forge." Her hand froze for a second, but only a second. "Just Ember," she corrected quietly. Ridge nodded once, respectfully, as if he understood the weight behind the correction. Outside, the dust storm thundered. Inside, for the first time in months, Ember felt something shift in her chestnut pain, not grief, but the faintest spark of something she thought she'd lost forever. Someone had walked into her world of fire and ashes, and he hadn't turned away. Ridge didn't leave the forge for a long while. The storm outside beat against the wall so violently that the iron hooks rattled. Yet the heat inside felt calmer than the storm Ember carried in her chest. She kept moving, checking the stallion's leg, adjusting the chain, brushing ash from the anvil, anything to keep silence from becoming memory. Ridge stood nearby, watchful, steady, his presence filling the room like a low-burning fire. He looked at the horse, then at her, then back again, as if choosing every second to remain present, even though it clearly cost him. "That stallion yours?" she asked at last. Ridge exhaled, rubbing his neck. "He belonged to my boy." The words hit the floor like dropped iron. Ember's hammer stopped midair. "I couldn't go near him for months after." After they passed, Ridge said, "Horse nearly tore down the barn. Thought time would fix it. It didn't." Grief recognized grief, like fire recognized smoke. Ember didn't ask for details. She simply listened. Ridge touched the stallion's neck. The horse flinched, but not violently, more uncertain than afraid. "I saw your forge light," Ridge murmured. "Figured if anyone could handle him, it'd be you." "Most folks only come here when something needs fixing," Ember said. "Not when something needs understanding." Ridge studied her again, slow and searching. "You think that's all I came for?" She didn't answer. Because since Seth died, people came to her with problems and expectations, never recognition, never sincerity. A board snapped outside, making the forge door shudder. Ember flinched before she could stop herself. Ridge noticed. "You okay?" "Fine," she lied. He didn't push. His silence wasn't heavy, was steady, patient, unsettling in its gentleness. She tightened the chain until the stallion relaxed. Ridge watched her hands, scarred, strong, certain. "You're good with him," he said. "Better than anyone I've seen." "He's scared," Ember replied. "Fear looks like fury when no one bothers to see the difference." The words hit him like a truth he'd spent years avoiding. Ridge drew a slow breath. "I could use help. With him, with the ranch. But I get it if you don't want trouble." Ember looked at the trembling stallion, then at the man who had carried his grief like armor. "Trouble's coming either way," she said softly. "But this isn't the kind I mind facing." Relief flickered in his eyes, small but real. And for the first time in 18 months, Ember felt something unfamiliar, stirring. Hope. The storm died before dawn, leaving the streets washed in pale silver. Ember stepped outside, breathing air that didn't taste like smoke. The forge still radiated warmth behind her. But she needed distance, if only a few feet from the intensity of the night before. From Ridge, from the shift she felt the moment he entered her forge. Ridge joined her minutes later, dust on his sleeves. Movements slow and intentional, as if solitude had trained every gesture. The stallion rested inside, calmer than she expected. "Storm cleared," he said. "Doesn't feel like it." He understood. She saw it in the small tightening of his expression. Silence settled between them, not sharp, not uncomfortable, just careful. "About last night," Ridge began. "Didn't mean to stay so long. Didn't mean to pull you into my mess." "You didn't," Ember said too quickly. "I chose to help." Ridge held her gaze, steady and grateful. "People don't usually choose to get involved with me. Not anymore." That shadow in his voice, familiar, heavy, settled between them. Ember crossed her arms against the cold. "You're not the only one folks avoid," she said. "People look at me and see something that doesn't fit. Too strong, too loud, too much." "Too much for who?" Ridge asked. "For them." Warmth flickered in his eyes. "Then maybe they can't measure right." The words hit deeper than she let show. He hesitated. "If you still want to come to the ranch, you can say no." The vulnerability in his tone startled her more than the storm. "I'll come," she said. "But not to save you." A faint smile tugged his mouth. "Didn't think you were the saving type. More like the type who tells a man to face his demons." "I won't fight them for you." "No," Ridge said quietly. "Just walk beside me while I try." Something in her chest shifted. People began stepping outside, gathering debris. Some glanced at Ember and Ridge with sharp curiosity. She felt their stares like needles. "You want me to go?" he asked. "No," she answered before she could think. "Let them look." Respect, not surprise, lit his eyes. "I'll bring the stallion tomorrow," Ridge said. "We'll start then." "Tomorrow?" He touched the brim of his hat, an old, gentle gesture, walked toward the ranch. the morning light outlining him in gold. Ember watched him go, breath steadying. Something had changed. And for the first time since burying Seth, she didn't feel alone stepping into the day. The sun climbed slowly over the jagged cliffs of the canyon as Ember made her way to Ridgetop Ranch. Morning light spilled across the vast stretch of land, turning the dry earth the color of burnt gold. The air smelled of sagebrush and dust, cleaner than the smoke-filled forge, but sharp enough to sting her lungs. It felt like stepping into a world untouched by town whispers, one where her strength didn't echo so loudly against other people's fears. Ridge was already outside, repairing a section of split fencing. He worked with quiet focus, sleeves rolled up, muscles shifting beneath sun-worn skin. He didn't see her at first, or maybe he did, and he simply chose to finish his task before acknowledging her. Either way, Ember found herself pausing for a heartbeat, longer than she meant to, not by his appearance, but by the calmness around him, a calm she hadn't felt in years. When he finally looked up, the change in him was subtle but unmistakable. His shoulders eased, his breath steadied. "You made it," he said. "I said I would." "That you did." A small nod, respectful, steady. He wiped his hands on a rag, then motioned toward the corral. "He's in there." Calmed down some, but not by much. Ember approached the fence, and the stallion immediately snorted, hooves shifting restlessly through the dirt. His eyes rolled white for a moment before settling on her. Recognition flickered, hesitant, uncertain, but real. "He remembers you," Ridge said. "I didn't give him reason not to." Ridge moved beside her, leaning lightly against the railing. "He hasn't trusted anyone since." "Well, since then." Ember heard the unspoken names: wife, child, loss. The canyon wind tugged at her hair, and for a moment neither of them spoke. "How long has he been like this?" she finally asked. Ridge exhaled. "Since the fire. Since everything went wrong." Ember turned to him sharply, but Ridge's gaze remained on the stallion. His hands tightened on the wooden post, just enough to show the strain. "You don't have to tell me," she said softly. "I know," Ridge answered. "But maybe I should." The stallion pawed the ground, kicking up small clouds of dust. Ember stepped into the corral, slow and measured. Ridge stiffened, ready to intervene. But she raised a hand and he stopped instantly. She moved with deliberate patience, letting the horse read her, letting him decide how close she could come. "I'm not here to force you," she murmured to the animal. "Just to stand with you." Ridge watched her, something loosening in his expressions, something raw, something grateful. The stallion's breathing steadied. Ember reached out, not touching, just offering presence. The horse lowered his head an inch. 1 inch, but it was enough to mark a shift. "You see," Ember said quietly. "Fear changes shape when you don't meet it with more fear." Ridge swallowed hard. "You sound like you're talking about more than the horse." "Maybe I am." Ridge opened the corral gate slowly, joining Ember inside with the cautious steps of a man who had spent too long fearing his own memories. The stallion flicked an ear toward him but didn't bolt as Ridge approached something that startled him more than he let on. "That's new," he muttered. Ember looked over her shoulder. "Because you're not walking toward him like you expect him to hurt you." Ridge stiffened at the accuracy of it. "I used to think he blamed me," he said, barely audible, "for not saving them, for surviving when they didn't." Ember didn't turn away from the horse, but her voice softened. "Animals don't carry guilt the way we do. They hold echoes. That's all." Ridge wasn't sure he believed that, but he let the words settle between them. The stallion shifted again, uneasy but not panicked, and Ember motioned for Ridge to step closer. He hesitated, then obeyed every movement, tight with old fear. "Put your hand here," Ember instructed gently, guiding his palm toward the horse's shoulder. "Not on the neck. Too much pressure there will spook him." Ridge's breath caught when his hand finally touched warm, trembling muscle. The stallion flinched, but did not rear. Ridge exhaled, shaky and uncertain, but the moment held. "You're doing fine," Ember said. He wasn't sure the words were meant for him or for the horse. But either way, something inside him uncoiled. He stroked the stallion's shoulder once, then again, the animal gradually letting his guard down. Ember watched quietly, her expression unreadable but steady. She knew what it meant for a man drowned in grief. To reach for something that could reject him, something that reminded him too much of what he lost. "You ever miss a day?" Ridge asked suddenly, eyes still on the horse. "Of what?" Ember replied. "Being whole." The question hit like an unexpected blow. Ember took a slow breath, grounding herself before answering. "No," she said finally. "Not because I don't remember what it felt like, but because pretending I could go back only makes the break worse." Ridge nodded, jaw tightening. "I keep thinking, if I'd been quicker." "Stop." Ember didn't raise her voice, but the command was solid as iron. Pain rewrites every memory until you can't. Tell truth from punishment. Don't let it. Ridge closed his eyes for a moment, letting the words sink in deeper than he meant them to. A gust of wind swept across the corral, rattling the rails. The stallion pressed closer to Ridge instead of away, and Ridge's eyes flew open in surprise. "He chose you," Ember said quietly. Ridge swallowed hard. "Feels like I've been waiting a long time for anything to choose me." "Maybe it was you," Ember replied, finally choosing something back. For a long moment, they stood side by side. The past still heavy, but no longer suffocating. The canyon walls held their silence, not judging it, just echoing it gently. Ridgetop Valley felt wrong the next morning, too alert, too loud, too focused on Ember in a way that made her skin tighten. The moment she stepped from her forge, she felt eyes trailing her like shadows. People lingered on porches they normally hurried past, conversations breaking apart. When she neared and stitching back together, behind her in sharp whispers, something was stirring. Ember walked with her usual steady stride, refusing to give their curiosity shape. She'd spent too long fighting to reclaim her spine after Seth's death to bow beneath judgment now. But even she couldn't ignore how tense the air felt, as if the whole town coiled around a single rumor. Near the general store, Marla Hensley planted herself directly in Ember's path. Marla's smile was sweet as syrup and just as sticky. "Morning, Ember. Heard you've been spending time at Ridge Calderon's ranch." "I've been helping with his horse," Marla hummed. "Folks say it's more than that." "Folks say a lot," Ember replied, brushing past. Marla followed. "I'm only looking out for you. After everything you've been through, you don't need more trouble." Ember stopped, jaw clenched. "Ridge is in trouble." Marla gave a pitying, poisonous smile. "His story's tragedy. Yours too. Tragedy plus tragedy doesn't make a future." The words hit like cold water on hot metal. Ember met her gaze without flinching. "I don't need you defining my future." Marla's expression sharpened. "Then be careful. The council's been talking." There it was. Ember stepped closer. "Talking about what?" Marla hesitated only a heartbeat. "About you. About how you've isolated yourself. How you're becoming unpredictable." Unpredictable. The same word they'd used after Seth died. Pull light code for problem. And Ridge? Ember asked. He's always been a loner, Marla said. But you? People think you need guidance. Before you make choices that don't align with the town's expectations. Expectations, another word for ownership. If the council wants to talk, Ember said, they can say it to my face. Marla only shrugged. I'm warning you because I care. But Ember had learned that care with a leash wasn't care at all. She walked away, pulse hammering. She hated the old dread rising inside her. Kind, she believed. She'd burned out long ago. She'd carved a life from iron and grief with her own hands. Yet one whisper from the wrong mouth could make her feel judged like a defendant in her own town. She expected whispers for her strength. She expected rumors about her independence. But she hadn't expected this, the town watching her like she was theirs to manage. And deep in that rising tension, Ember realized Ridge was becoming part of their equation, whether he knew it or not. By midday, Ember couldn't shake the feeling of eyes tracking her every move. Each clang of her hammer echoed too sharply, and every shift of shadow outside the forge felt deliberate. She tried focusing on the half-shaped hinges cooling on her bench, but Marla's voice kept looping in her mind. The council's been talking. About her. About Ridge. About what she was allowed to choose. The forge heat pulsed, but beneath it, Ember felt a creeping cold she despised. Late afternoon brought familiar footsteps, steady, heavy, edged with a tiredness Ridge never managed to shake. He stepped into the doorway, sunlight outlining him in gold. You busy? He asked. Depends who's asking, she replied, shaping metal as if the motion mattered more than the moment. Ridge stepped closer, but kept respectful distance. I went to town for feed. Folks were staring at me strange. They're watching everyone, especially us. Us, Ridge echoed. You went from being the quiet man on the edge of town to someone they suddenly have opinions about. And I, Ember exhaled. They've always had opinions about me. Ridge leaned on a post. Marla said something to me too. Ember tensed. What? That I should keep my distance. Said you're grieving. Said I'm damaged. His jaw tightened. Said to broken people don't make anything but more breakage. Anger tore through Ember so fast, she had to step away. They think grief is contagious. Seems that way, Ridge said quietly. She paced a moment, then faced him. They're trying to interfere. To decide who I'm allowed to stand beside. Ridge's voice dropped. Because I walked into your forge? It's enough, Ember said. Enough for them to invent stories. Enough for them to think I need God. Ridge pushed off the post, stepping toward her careful, deliberate. Do you want me to stay away? If this makes things harder. No. The word burst too quickly to hide. I don't want that. He searched her expression, as if trying to name something he wasn't sure he had the right to feel. The forge hummed around them, heat pulling the space tight between them. Finally, Ridge said, voice rough, then they don't get to choose what this is. The words struck deep, steadier than she expected. They'll try, Ember warned. Let them, he answered. I've lived my life with people assuming they know my limits. I'm done letting fear mean or theirs decide for me. Something solid anchored inside her. Ridge wasn't trying to shrink her or mold her pain. He was simply standing there, choosing her with quiet resolve. Outside, footsteps paused at her door before moving on. The town listening. The town waiting. They want us to flinch, Ridge said. Ember lifted her chin. Then we won't. And for the first time all day, The dread loosened not because the town approved, but because Ridge didn't need them to. Word traveled fast in Ridgetop Valley, faster than storms crossing the plains. By the time Ember stepped outside the next morning, the town had already spun its own version of her. Connection with Ridge. None of the versions were kind. Conversations stopped mid-breath. People turned away with stiff politeness, then whispered when she passed. The air felt heavy, thick with the judgment she'd learned to walk through, but today it carried something sharper, like the town was waiting for a spark to catch. When she reached the forge, a group of men stood near the entrance, pretending to fix a wagon that hadn't needed fixing yesterday. Ember recognized two of them, Hargreave and Jarrell from the council. Hargreave tipped his hat. "Morning, Mrs. Hale." "Ms. Hale," Ember corrected. "We'd like a word," Jarrell added. "A matter best addressed sooner than later. If it's about my permits, they're paid." "It isn't paperwork," Hargreave said. "It's about your associations." "Ridge, of course." Jarrell continued. "We've given you space to grieve. But when grief starts clouding judgment, my judgment isn't yours to measure." They exchanged the look of men convinced they were righteous. "Ridge Calderon is unstable," Hargreave said. "His past is concerning. We worry you're vulnerable to choices that may endanger you." Ember let out a hard laugh. "You think I'm vulnerable?" "We think you may be confusing pity with attachment," Jarrell said. "And the town can't stand by if you put yourself or others at risk." There it was. The same patronizing tone she'd endured after Seth's death, people claiming her pain made her unfit to make her own decisions. "You don't decide who I speak to, who I help, She cut herself off. "We're trying to protect you," Jarrell insisted. "No, you're trying to control me." Hargreave sighed. "If you continue down this path, we may need to intervene formally. For your own good." The threat hung between them. Ember steadied her breath. "My life belongs to me, not to you, not to this town." She pushed past them and slammed the forge door behind her, the windows rattling with the impact. Hands braced against the workbench, she breathed through the fury. They wanted her small, quiet, manageable. But Ember had walked through fire, and she was done letting anyone else dictate how she rose from it. Ridge arrived less than an hour after the councilman left. Unaware of the storm he was stepping into, Ember recognized his footsteps, the steady rhythm she'd begun to trust. For a moment it soothed her, but the anger still burned hot. "You're early," she said. Ridge studied her face. "You look like you're ready to fight." "I already did." He stepped closer. "Who?" "Hargreave and Jarrell. They cornered me outside." "What did they say?" His posture tightened. "That I'm vulnerable, that you're unstable, that the council may intervene if I keep choosing for myself." Something dark flickered in Ridge's eyes. "They're right about one thing. I am unstable." "Don't," Ember snapped. "Don't hand them words to use against you." He froze. "I've seen unstable. You're not it. You listen. You care. That's more than half this town does." Ridge exhaled, tension unbroken. "If being near me makes things harder for you, maybe I should leave," she finished. "Pretend nothing's there to protect me." His silence was answer enough. Ember stepped closer. "I don't need distance. I need honesty. Honesty is, I don't want them turning on you because of me. And I don't want them deciding who I'm allowed to stand beside." The air between them tightened, charged. "What exactly did they threaten?" Ridge asked. "That if I don't behave how they expect, they'll step in, like I'm some burden they need to relocate." Ridge's fists clenched. They don't get to do that. They think they do. He paced, anxiety radiating from him. They tolerated me on the outskirts. But the moment I stepped closer to someone they still see as fragile. Stop calling me fragile. He stopped, dead. You think I can't handle this town? I've survived their judgment since the day I buried my husband. I don't think you're fragile, he said softly. I think you're tired. And I don't want to add more weight. You're not weight, Ember said. You're the first thing that hasn't felt like weight in a long time. Silence deepened steady, grounding. If they come after you because of me, I'll face them, Ridge said. No, we face them together. He nodded slowly. Together, then. Footsteps passed outside, listening, lingering. But Ember no longer felt alone on the cliff's edge. Not anymore. The sun hung low over Ridgetop Valley, spilling gold across the dusty streets. Today wasn't about whispers or judgment. Ember felt a tension, unlike fear anticipation, fragile courage forged in fire. The town had gathered, murmurs drifting like smoke. They didn't understand what was coming. Ember stood near the forge, hands steady despite her heart pounding. Ridge arrived, dust clinging to his boots, eyes soft for her alone. Their proximity felt right solid, defiant. Hargreave and Jarrell lingered at the crowd's edge, hoping she'd falter, that Ridge would step back, that the town could bend her will. But Ember had walked through and figurative and, today, carried the calm of survival. Are you ready? Ridge whispered. I've never been more ready. They walked together toward the platform for the ceremony, steps deliberate. Townspeople shifted uncomfortably, as if their eyes could halt this moment. Ember ignored them, focused on Ridge, the man who had become her anchor, her mirror, her equal in grief and strength. On the platform, Ridge faced the crowd. This town may try to dictate what is right for us. They may think they know how to shape our lives, but we are not theirs to command. A hush fell. Even the wind paused. Ember stepped forward, brushing against his hand. We've both lost much, been judged and told what to feel. Today, we claim our own path. Today, we stand together. The officiant nodded. Ember's heart thumped not fear, not doubt, but defiant hope. Ridge took her hand fully, fingers intertwining, sealing a promise forged by shared scars. Hargreave muttered, "They think this changes everything." Ridge smiled faintly. "It changes only what matters to us." Ember felt heat not from the forge, not from anger, but from resolve. She glanced at Ridge. No council, no whispers, no town could define her life again. She was choosing herself, choosing him, their love boldly. The crowd shifted, murmurs of disbelief mixing with awe. Ember and Ridge were no longer just two broken souls. They were a union, stronger than fear, forged from loss and relentless hope. The officiant raised his hands, signaling continuation. Ember tightened her grip on Ridge, their pulses sinking. Every storm, every hardship, every defiance led to this incandescent moment. They were ready. The town held its breath as Ember and Ridge stood hand in hand. Whispers seemed louder than wind, but Ember felt only certainty. This life, this love, was theirs. The officiant's quiet voice broke the tension. "Do you, Ridge Calderon, take Ember Hale to be your partner in life? In sorrow and in joy, in loss and in hope. To stand beside her and strengthen her through storms." "I do," Ridge said, voice firm and clear, a hammer striking iron in her chest. "And do you, Ember Hale, take Ridge Calderon to be your partner? To share your burdens and dreams? To hold your heart and never let it falter?" "I do," Ember replied, steady and unwavering. She saw in Ridge the man who survived grief, who helped her survive hers, proving love could exist even in a world that tried to deny it. The crowd shifted, eyes wide in disbelief, some softening. But none could take away what had been claimed: the right of two souls to define their story. Ridge lifted her hands to his lips. Together, he said, more than a word, a promise etched in fire, scars, and hope. Ember smiled, feeling warmth, relief, and joy as the world aligned with her heart. The town could watch, doubt, whisper, but they could not undo their choice. The officiant nodded. By your vows, courage, and love, I pronounce you partners in life. United not by fear or expectation, but by choice. A cheer rose, hesitant, then bolder, as some townspeople recognized what they could not deny. Ember glanced at Ridgepain judgment, and isolation melted away. They had survived it together, stronger and whole. As the sun dipped behind the cliffs, Ember and Ridge stepped down, hand in hand. Challenges would come, doubts would arise. Shadows of the past linger, but they had each other. No one would define them again. Only them and love. And the life they would build unbroken, unashamed, unstoppable. The forge's smoke curled skyward. Ember glanced once more at the place that had forged her in fire, pain, and solitude. Today, it had witnessed not just iron hammered into shape, but two broken hearts welded into one. Ember squeezed Ridge's hand. We did it. We did, he said. And together, they walked past watchers, past whispers, into a life defined by courage, hope, and the unshakable power of choosing each other forever.